machine.
People believed technology would secure their future. They welcomed every invention. When Kyle came into the world, the machines had already taken over. Skynet replaced human decision-making and called for total destruction. On August 29, 1997, Skynet became self-aware and decided that all humans were a threat. It launched missiles that destroyed the planet, and 3 billion people were killed in nuclear fire. The survivors called it Judgment Day and lived in darkness. Those who were captured were sent to prison and forced to work. Sometime after Judgment Day, Kyle was born and from an early age had to learn how to survive in a world ruled by machines. Terminators were infiltration units designed to look like humans. When Kyle was about to be killed by one, he was saved by a man named John Connor, who spent years recruiting hundreds of people and teaching them how to fight. Thanks to the rebellion he led, many prisoners were freed and learned how to destroy the machines. That night, John would lead his team in a mission to end Skynet for good. While a group of soldiers headed to Colorado to destroy the enemy base, Kyle joined John's team in Los Angeles to raid a labor camp where Skynet's secret weapon was hidden. After Skynet was destroyed, Kyle planned to search for his parents' house and rebuild it before starting a family. Once the invasion was detected, the battle began. In the middle of the gunfire, John received news that the team sent to Colorado had already won the war. That meant Skynet's central core had been destroyed. But there was bad news. The secret weapon had already been used, and now a Terminator was loose in Los Angeles in 1984. Realizing it would lose the war, Skynet sent its ultimate weapon back in time before the war, with the goal of killing Sarah Connor, John's mother. If the machine succeeded, John would never be born. The entire future would change and the resistance would never win. To stop that from happening, Kyle volunteered to enter the time machine and travel to the past to protect Sarah. But as Kyle was being transported, John was attacked by a Terminator. Kyle had no way to return and help him. When he arrived, Kyle met a homeless man and asked for help finding clothes. Meanwhile, the Terminator walked naked through the city streets and was approached by 3 young men who mocked him. At that moment, Pops appeared and said he had been waiting for the Terminator. The machine charged toward him and was shot repeatedly. The Terminator remained unharmed and used its strength to knock Pops down. Even knowing he was outmatched, Pops refused to give up and struck the side of the Terminator's face with a metal object. During the fight, Pops was thrown back again and realized his weapon no longer worked. When the Terminator approached for a final strike, Pops' partner saw an opening and fired a single bullet that pierced the machine's chest. In an alley, while Kyle tried to get dressed, he was spotted by a police officer and had to run to avoid arrest. After seizing the officer's gun, Kyle realized the man was actually a machine sent to kill him and immediately pulled the trigger. Once his enemy was down, Kyle fled again but was chased by the T-1000, which fully regenerated in minutes. In a clothing store, Kyle put on clothes and ran again when the machine found him. On the way, he encountered 2 human police officers and ended up in handcuffs. As he was being taken to the police station, the T-1000 appeared and shot Garber in the back. O'Brien saw his partner being attacked and fired at the machine, but the bullets had no effect. O'Brien and Kyle took cover and were saved by Sarah, who rammed the robot with a truck. Once Kyle got into the vehicle, Sarah drove off and told him she had already dealt with the Terminator that was sent to kill her. When Kyle saw Pops in the back of the truck, he panicked and tried to shoot him, but was defeated easily. After knocking him out, Pops put Kyle in the trunk and took the wheel. He knew the T-1000 would find them again soon. Shockingly, Sarah already knew everything about the future, including her relationship with Kyle that would lead to the birth of John. But before being with a man she would marry, Sarah wanted to wait until she truly fell in love. Pops was confused because he could not process human emotions. When Kyle woke up, he learned the robot with Sarah was his ally and had saved her life when she was 9 years old. According to Pops, he was programmed to protect Sarah and sent back by someone who erased their own identity from his files. Sarah's goal was to use Kyle's knowledge of the future to prevent Judgment Day by destroying Skynet before it was created. Suddenly, the T-1000 appeared and opened fire on Sarah, who shot back immediately. When the machine realized its weapon would not work, it leaped forward. But Sarah pushed it back into the car and Kyle blew up the vehicle. Thanks to Kyle, the group gained time to escape and hide inside an abandoned building. A few minutes later, the T-1000 returned and after pinning Pops to the wall, it reactivated the Terminator Sarah had previously defeated. Pops ordered Sarah to escape and Kyle blew up the Terminator. Even with its skin destroyed, the machine remained standing and chased Kyle. While crawling under a table, Kyle was nearly impaled by a metal rod the Terminator drove toward him. When he stood, he was shocked and used the electrical cables around him to overload the machine. It still kept moving, but Kyle grabbed a gun and destroyed its head with one shot. Kyle then looked for Sarah and found the T-1000 disguised as him. After Sarah figured out who was real, she told Kyle to run and shot at the ceiling. There was a large supply of acid above them. When the acid poured down, the machine's body began to melt. But it still reached its target. As Sarah was about to be killed, Pops appeared and destroyed his own arm to make sure the T-1000 melted and died. Kyle then learned there was a time machine hidden in the building, and Pops needed a CPU from the future to power it. Because of the magnetic field, the robot could not travel with them since his damaged arm would take years to heal. Instead of traveling to 1997, the year of Judgment Day, Kyle said they needed to go 20 years later because he received a message from his younger self saying Skynet would activate in October 2017. Pops explained that the man Kyle saw was himself from an alternate timeline created after John was attacked. After Kyle convinced Sarah that it was the fastest way to stop Skynet, he prepared to travel again and Pops said he would wait in San Francisco in 2017. Minutes later, the couple arrived on a busy highway and caused a major crash that attracted police attention. While being taken to the police station on suspicion of criminal activity, Pops began working on a rescue plan. Before being questioned, Kyle and Sarah received medical attention and heard a nurse talking about the Genisys program. It would be used by Skynet to access all online data. In less than 30 hours, the Genisys app would be downloaded to their phones and connect all devices to the internet non-stop. At that moment, the police entered the room with Detective O'Brien, who was convinced the two had come from the past. Even after decades, he had not forgotten the day he arrested Kyle in a clothing store and minutes later was saved by Sarah. When the police left, Kyle used a scalpel to free himself from the handcuffs. As he helped Sarah escape hers, John entered the room. After greeting his parents, John trapped the police and helped them leave the hospital unnoticed. Meanwhile, Pops arrived and entered the security room to check the cameras and track Sarah. In the parking lot, while explaining his vision of the alternate future, Kyle learned he was John's father and was shocked. When asked why he never said anything, John said doing so would risk changing everything that had happened. Suddenly, Pops appeared and Sarah felt relieved to see him. But instead of joining them, the robot shot John and then attacked Kyle. Seeing her son lifeless, Sarah became furious and pointed her gun at Pops' head, forcing him to release Kyle. At that moment, the couple is shocked to see John stand up and reveal that when he was attacked, shortly before Kyle was sent to the past, his body had already been infected by Skynet. After that, he was sent to the year 2014 with the goal of protecting Skynet's creation and ensuring that Judgment Day would happen. Before attacking again, John offers his parents a chance to join him, saying that even if they are eliminated, he will still be born because he exists in an alternate timeline that cannot be changed even if they do not survive. Even knowing that their son is willing to kill them to defend Skynet, Sarah and Kyle stay committed to their mission. Realizing that neither of them can be corrupted, John attacks them and begins a duel against Pops, a machine that is far less technologically advanced. Even though he is outdated, Pops does not run away because he is willing to sacrifice his life to protect Sarah. However, instead of escaping, the woman decides to return and help the robot. After pulling him out of the resonance chamber, she tells Kyle to activate the machine to stop John from reaching them. Even though the magnet pulls him strongly, John keeps walking toward Kyle but is dragged back and his body starts to break apart. While driving to the other side of the city, Pops reveals that at the end of the war, Skynet developed an infiltration unit by infecting human bodies with machine material that could rebuild tissue at a cellular level. This way, Skynet managed to turn humans into exterminators. However, shortly after, the test subjects went insane and did not survive. For some reason, John became the exception and was chosen by Skynet as the ultimate weapon. When they arrive at the hideout where Pops has stored weapons and ammunition for decades, the couple has only 30 minutes to prepare for the battle, and Sarah is moved to see that Pops has kept all her childhood photos and drawings. As they get ready to leave, Kyle asks Sarah why she never told him the truth, and Sarah explains that less than 48 hours after getting her pregnant, Kyle died protecting her. To prevent Kyle from facing the same fate, she chose to hide their relationship. And since seeing him again, she has tried not to get too close. During the conversation, John appears, and Kyle tries to fight Skynet's influence, but quickly realizes that his son has become a machine without feelings. Unlike Kyle, Sarah does not try to argue with John because she knows he cannot feel pain or regret. So she decides to blow up the robot and flee with Kyle and Pops. As Sarah and her team steal a school bus to escape, John leaves his hideout and regains his human form, continuing the chase. On a motorcycle, he catches up to them and jumps onto the vehicle Sarah is driving, but ends up falling onto the road. As Sarah searches for a way out, Pops is dragged out of the bus and crashes into the windshield of a police car. After forcing the officer to leave the vehicle, the robot returns to the bus, and Sarah realizes too late that the brakes no longer work. While hiding beneath the bus, John removes one of its parts and causes a major accident. As the bus begins rolling over, Sarah and Kyle lose consciousness and wake up minutes later with the vehicle hanging over San Francisco Bay. While trying to climb up the wreckage to reach the bridge, Kyle sees John and hits him to grab Sarah's hand before the vehicle falls into the water. Once Kyle holds on, Pops pulls them back onto the bridge, and the three are surrounded by police. After being arrested for the second time that day, the couple is interrogated. After giving their statements, Pops enters the room to tell his side. While answering questions, the robot senses John nearby, disguised as he breaks into the police station and shoots several officers. Fortunately, O'Brien, who came to help clarify the situation with the time travelers, is not killed. As Pops frees himself from the handcuffs and chases John, the detective helps Sarah escape after learning the group is trying to stop the end of humanity. At that moment, young Kyle and his parents are also in the police station. When Sarah sees the boy with his family, she decides to help them get away. She meets with O'Brien and Kyle to retrieve the weapons confiscated by the police and is relieved to see Pops still alive. Soon after, the three of them reach the rooftop and steal a helicopter. As they are about to escape, John appears again and opens fire, but Pops manages to flee with his allies inside the aircraft. Determined not to let them escape, John steals another helicopter to chase them and shoots until he damages one of the engines. Even so, Kyle continues flying, and Pops blows up a fuel tanker truck to distract John. During the flight, Sarah shoots John with a missile and buys time for Pops to jump onto the enemy helicopter and destroy the blades, causing the aircraft to crash into the water. Even after the brutal crash, John walks to the headquarters of the company that created the Genisys program and kills the security guard to avoid witnesses. Minutes later, the couple arrives armed with combat gear and storms the building. Even knowing that John is waiting inside, Skynet introduces itself and states that they are too late, as only 13 hours remain before the world falls under artificial intelligence control. At that moment, John appears and is struck by heavy gunfire, but claims no weapon on Earth can destroy him. What he does not expect is Pops appearing just in time with a large metal rod, striking him like an arrow. After being hit, the robot remains stuck to the screen, and Pops reveals that Skynet plans to start the data transfer early, so they must act fast before time runs out. As the three begin their destruction plan, John uses his arms to drag himself to the end of the rod and break free. According to Pops, once the explosion begins, Sarah and John must hide in the panic room downstairs, as it is their only chance to survive. After separating, the team spreads explosives across the central core, and Sarah sees the countdown drop to 8 minutes. When all the explosives are ready, John goes after his mother to retrieve the detonator, but Sarah throws it to Pops. At that moment, she is captured and orders Pops to press the trigger, but the robot refuses. Realizing Sarah will not survive the explosion, Pops begins to hesitate. John destroys the detonator. As the machines fight, Kyle and Sarah search for another way to trigger the bombs. Seeing Pops weaken, Sarah tries to help him, but Skynet locks her out. Pops grabs a laser gun to cut John apart, but John keeps regenerating and strikes back. Although Pops is strong and fast, John's advanced body gives him the advantage. John tears off Pop's left arm and calls him a relic. Sarah and Kyle blast a hole in the door and go after him. Kyle uses Pop's arm to attack John, and Sarah shoots him to slow his healing. When John's molecules begin to reform, Pops blocks the process and orders Kyle to activate the field generator. Sarah tries to stop him, but Pops knows he must destroy the site before Skynet wins. Sarah and Kyle enter the panic room as the explosion begins. John's metal fragments melt into liquid metal. Pop's body disintegrates and the entire site explodes. Kyle and Sarah struggle to open the panic room door until a robot opens it. They fear it is John, but it is Pops with a new body. The next day, Kyle visits his younger self and leaves a lasting message. The three move forward, hoping for a future without Skynet, and with that the story ends here. Terminator Genisys reminds you that your choices shape the future, even when fate seems fixed. The story shows that loyalty and love can push you to fight against impossible odds. It warns you that technology without limits can destroy what matters most. It also teaches you to keep hope alive, because a better future is always worth protecting.